Travis Winginsell. Section 103, verse 16. This is a prophecy, in case you don't know what will means in the future tense. Therefore, I will raise up unto my people a man. Have I lost anybody yet? A future prediction by Joseph Smith. And it's, February 24th, 1834. This is before the Quorum of the 12 Apostles. It's before the change of the name of the church, which I think was in May, if I remember correctly. We're probably looking at the anniversary. To the Church of the Latter-day Saints, 1834. 1835, 12 Apostles. So this is February 24th. A historic day. A day also of infamy. Nonetheless. And so I will raise up. In the context of unto my people, which you know as Mormons, right? So he's talking to Mormons. This is Joseph Smith, the founder of the Mormon church. He's given a prophecy. He says, my people, Mormons, right? I didn't lose anybody yet, have I? And so, he's a human. And he's a he, because it says a man. So any woman who thinks they're going to be this person, sorry. Oh, this is sexist. Prophecies need to be DEI and include women. Bleep you. Terrorist. God. There was the feminist group that redid the Bible to be matriarchal instead of patriarchal. That died quick. Dear God. Okay, so a future Mormon. Nobody's confused, are you? Future Mormon man. And so he would have future Mormon parents. From Joseph Smith's starting of the church, eventually there will be converts who will be this prophecy. Now, maybe Joseph Smith is wrong. He's a false prophet. It won't be true. I did have that from a Christian yesterday. Let's take a station identification break to go over that. Because she thinks she's being logical. And she's not. So after Idaho chick made her comment, Microsoft got hacked after Trump's special holiday, hoping to get a Trump Shanghai resort with bearded Asian ladies dancing. Why did nobody come up with that one? Just the Gaza one? And it was glory of God is intelligence, saving Mormons in their ignorance. With the anonymous Mormon who sent me the original template for the picture. And I just did my modifications for it. So, Torah Sky says, easiest way to prove Jesus Christ is real. It can't be done, Torah. Jesus Christ was created by Roman Emperor Constantine, 325 CE. It's an established historical fact. Anybody who says otherwise is a liar and a deceiver. We've just proven you are a liar and a deceiver. So I really don't need to go on, especially with your multiple explanation points afterward. So then she says, join the devil. Grab a Ouija board. Summon a demon. Yes, prove Jesus is true by proving Lucifer is true. Once you realize you've made a serious, terrible mistake, call on Jesus to save your sorry ass, because he's the only one who can. Really? He saved yours this way? You got a Ouija board and somehow summoned a demon, and you realized you made a terrible mistake, and you called on Jesus and he saved you physically, right? Bunch of dumbass Christians. God. So obviously there was no physical appearance of a demon and no physical appearance of Jesus. And thus, by definition, not real. A musion. Constantine made up the word. So Joseph lives in reality, even though he gives visions. It's a future human, a future Mormon, a future man. Who shall lead my people, Mormons, them. You do know how to identify a pronoun in a sentence, and to be able to edit somebody's paper if they put the pronoun to the wrong noun of which it is a pronoun of. Right? So them is plural. So you go back to the previous noun. That would be man. No. Singular. My people. You should all know English grammar. I should not have to be asking you if you know English grammar. And yet, living in prophets of Jesus apparently don't know it. If you check the footnotes. For example, oh my God. Who shall lead Mormons like as Moses? Who's Moses? Oh crap, they don't have a footnote on Moses. How are we going to know who this Moses guy is? I know about a Moses Malone. Everybody in Utah knows Moses Malone. Maybe not the younger generation. Unless they hear Grandpa talking about him. Nonetheless. So yeah, obviously, I think 16a would take you to Exodus chapter 3. They should have taken you to Deuteronomy 18 verse 18. Or 15 through 18. 19. So, yeah, it's the Bible character of which he has several books attributed to him. Not Genesis, even though it's considered a book of Moses. It's not. Only Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. Just 4 books of Moses, not 5. Separate Jewish author wrote Genesis, and it has nothing to do with Moses. Nothing to do with Moses. Sorry, Jews. Shouldn't have gotten conned by Constantine, who turned everything literal history. So that now people believe in not real Jesus and not real demons from the underworld. That's higher level learning. We're not going over that. If you can't understand that them refers to you as a Mormon, we cannot talk about the afterlife. Need to learn line upon line, precept upon precept, just as you do as a child being born, as this future Mormon is, as Genesis is talking about. So it is about Moses, but not about Moses, because Moses, for the Jews, the authors who talk about him, are giving you visions as seers, just like Joseph Smith does. It's not literal histories. And so they're talking about their future Christ. And so if we were to go to Deuteronomy 18:8-15, from which that came from as an exact word pattern match, the Lord thy God will raise up unto thee a prophet from the midst of thee, of thy brethren, like unto me. Moses is not talking here. The Jewish author is pretending to be Moses. It's a literary technique, we'll say. And this is a vision that he's having. And in the vision, he's giving a prediction of the future. So Joseph Smith in section 103 is saying, boom, he's a Mormon. This is the Jewish Christ, also called Messiah from Hebrew. There is no Jesus. We can get complicated, but I think I've already blown everybody's circuits. Everybody's upset. I can't handle this, Travis. You're wrong. Church is true. I felt it with every fiber of my cereal. Really? You just felt it, huh? You didn't see it with your physical eyes? You'd think the Missouri Mormons would want to have it shown to them before they automatically believe. It's a show me state. Utah is the threaten me state. Threaten me to believe. Okay. And so, knowing the story of the Exodus is vital. Because Moses wasn't the head of the church. Just a regular member, kind of an outcast, born in another state, not the headquarters of Utah. Because remember, future Mormon. And so you can't say that he's going to be born in Egypt to a Hebrew woman and be raised up in Pharaoh's court. There are no pharaohs anymore. They're gone. Long gone. And I don't know. This is basic for me. I don't understand TBMs, true believing Mormons, who are incapable of knowing English and understanding what they read. It makes no sense to me. Because there are Mormons who believe that this is the zombie apocalypse Joseph Smith from the resurrection grave. Because of the dumbass who put the footnote in. But they do have an accurate footnote to section 107, verse 91. And again, the duty of the president of the office of the high priesthood is to preside over the whole church and to be like unto Moses, the Jewish Christ. The head of the church is the Jewish Christ. The keys of Moses that Joseph Smith, in a vision, not literal history, describes receiving in the Kirtland vision, April 3rd, 1836. After he did that, after he wrote that, he then called all Mormons to gather to Zion in Kirtland. He already gave the prophecy of the future Mormon who's going to do this. Joseph is the head of the church. Moses was not. But Joseph Smith now has the transfer of authority keys. He's starting out the church. Running a similitude for Mormons of the future who will not be the head of the church, but requires that Pharaoh, the great and abominable church, holding Mormons in bondage, fall and transfer authority to that Mormon who isn't the head of the church or any leadership in the church and is an outcast. If you're still stuck on Jesus, dear God, stay away from mankind. About as bad as Torah, if not worse. And so how will you know him, Mormons? I'm just going to try. He's going to go back to bed. Because you don't do it for the living prophets of Jesus, who you now know are false, who are holding you in bondage to Jesus, or yoked to Jesus. And you never bothered to check the scripture that he quoted. Sort of, not really. Dear God, Mormons. Nelson and Oakes lied. I am still struggling with the bombshell that the Salt Lake Tribune, Peggy, gave me. The first second counselor in the presidency, wasn't he? Hubie Brown. I always wondered, did people know what they were doing in fulfilling prophecy? That's been the big question. The Danites said, yeah, that's their whole plot. A 200-year-old plot to overthrow the United States of America and ultimately the entire world. And I've traced it all to now, as this is what we're going to get into in the news. But for Hugh B. Brown not to know this 200-year-old plot, why was he excluded? And I guess it's only the Danite descendants. But Nelson isn't. Oakes sorta is, through Martin Harris's sister. So again, I'm thinking that I have no idea. I don't, boggles the mind. Boggles the mind. You know, I can understand certain apostles may not know, but that's a high-risk maneuver to do that, to call them into the apostleship when they don't demonstrate that they know the 200-year-old plot. Because once you tell them, and then they go, oh crap, then they start becoming a whistleblower. It hasn't happened, sort of, maybe. Depending on who died in a controversy. Right, Ballard? That was coincidental timing. And then there was a Scott scandal. The whole family is like, what the hell? He was perfectly healthy and fine. And now you don't hear any more about Scots. You hear about a new Irene that's now in. A third Irene is now in leadership. Oh my hell. Irene, I know what you did. Dear God. And so, yeah, Irene I can see knowing. And Oakes I can see knowing. And Nelson, was he really that stupid? Being played by Oakes to do that? Maybe. Dear God. So anyway, the test you run to find out is about the words, obviously, if you hadn't been paying attention. Everybody says words. The words are either true or false. How do you know if they're true or false? Oh no. Guess it was spiritual witness feelings. Just like Jesus. Never even bothered to read your scriptures. Christians, not just Mormons. Because Matthew chapter 7. Oh yeah. By their fruits. It's not talking about actual fruit. Prophets speak words. And if they're a false prophet, as it's referring to, you need to run the test on the words. Now, it doesn't go over the graphic detail of how to produce the results of the words to know if the word was false or true. The Book of Mormon has several examples on this. The big one was Alma chapter 32, starting in verse 28. We will liken the word unto a seed. Goes through the whole process. You gotta wait until you get to the fruit. You're not done yet. You don't know yet. Wait for the fruit. Your spiritual witness feelings is not truth. It says it right in the text. And so for Mormons to ignore Alma 32, 32 starting in verse 28, when they go over Moroni chapter 10, and you purposely screw up manifest the truth, huh? The manifestation of truth is the fruit of the word. You're running the test on the Book of Mormon word. You need to run the test on the words of the Book of Mormon. And you came up with spiritual witness feelings, huh? God, I should not have to be doing this video. Especially when my audience are all older than I am. All the youngins run away. They don't want to hear the word. That should concern you who are older than I am and are not a believer. You at least listen to my word before you judge me as wrong with your spiritual witness feelings. All I'm doing is quoting from Scripture. That's what you're rejecting. All Mormons who reject my word are rejecting Joseph Smith and the Book of Mormon. I preach no other word. Dear God, Mormons. And so, for a prophet, as from Deuteronomy, as from Matthew 7, as from 3 Nephi 14, that's just one of them. Because in verse 92 of section 107, you have seer, prophet, revelator, and translator. So you can have a wider field to test with Joseph Smith, not just for his predictions of the future, but for his visions. Are you going to run the test on his visions as literal histories? Obviously they'll be wrong. No duh, ex-faux Pimos. The Book of Mormon is a vision. That's why it's not literal history. I shouldn't have to be doing these kinds of videos and wasting 30 minutes over this as an introduction for you. Because I can't get to the main topic of the video until everybody understands the prerequisites for the class. And you skipped them, didn't you? Dear God. So, did any of you catch on that seer, prophet, revelator, translator, S-P-R-T, spirit? No? Yeah, because you heard it first from me. If anybody else talks about it, it's because they found out, either directly or indirectly, from many of my videos. One of many. And then thought they'd steal it and try to claim to be popular with it. It's mine. I made the pretty pictures. Been doing this for years. Because in the Book of Mormon, there's a scripture mastery of spiritual mindedness is life eternal. S-M-I-L-E. Smile. Yeah, that was by somebody who wrote the manuals. Way back in seminary. So the teachers would use that as part of the lesson for that scripture. So cool. This is the Spirit. The spirit of prophecy and revelation, with visions and translations. So Mosiah, chapter 8. Ammon talking to King Limhi. Ammon says a seer is a prophet and a revelator. A prophet has to reveal the calendar date and clock time, day and hour, or his prophecies are in vain. And so, as the test tells us, no fruit equals false prophet. And if you get fruit, is it corrupt or is it good? Like the tree of life. Holding to the iron rod, the word of God, to get to the fruit of the tree of life. Or in the original Book of Mormon, get to Lehi, who is the Christ figure, the man like Moses. Either one, as long as you understand visions, not literal histories. And so, they won't footnote it for you here. So you have to know Joseph Smith history, second vision, verse 40. He quoted also the 3rd chapter of Acts, 22nd, 23rd verses, precisely as they stand in our New Testament. Okay, let's go to it. For Moses truly said unto the fathers, a prophet shall the Lord your God raise up unto you of your brethren like unto me. Oh. Him shall ye hear in all things whatsoever he shall say unto you, and it shall come to pass that every soul which will not hear that prophet shall be destroyed from among the people. Oh crap. He said that that prophet was Christ. Now have I lost you again? This is the man like Moses, the Mormon. He's the seer, prophet, revelator, translator with the keys of Moses, a future Mormon, not a leader of the church, an outcast. He's the Christ, but only Jesus is the Christ. Because Constantine told you. And you believed him without running the test on his words? But my spiritual witness feelings must be validated. No, they don't. Bleep you. God. Remember when Antifa pulled that stunt through psychology? Dear God. Threatening everybody. You have to validate my words and my feelings. No, I don't. Get out of here. Calling the cops. We've got a Karen alert. Now listen carefully to the words that come after Christ. Christ is an anointed one. What happens in the temples, Mormons? You have a date set, whether it's to go on a mission or to get married, or you got nothing better to do, and you never ran the test to find out the church was false. They set a date for you to when you can come in. And then you go, and there's a list of what you need. You need to buy in advance the magic underwear. I mean, sacred underwear that covers up and hides your nudity, that you have to then cover up and hide. And as Idaho Chick said in the comment, where Torah was commenting, it's so that Mormon women can cover up and hide above and beyond the covering up and hiding, so that they can wear the tube tops and strapless single straps. So that nobody would know they're Mormon. Nobody will know. Shh. You'll have no clue that it has to do with the coup of America. That you're terrorists. Just like Idaho Chick. And so you go there, you meet the desk, and say, yeah, I'm here for, go to the temple. Okay, and then the temple worker becomes your Anubis to take you through the temple. Oh, right. I gotta dumb it down. I can't talk about how it came from the Egyptians. And he takes you to the lockers, tells you to put on your underwear. You should already be wearing it now, because now the initiatories require that you be fully dressed. And because for me, no, I had to separate. It was Los Angeles Temple of Malachi's. Death penalties, wedgies, nakedness, utter, complete horror. And yeah, women, I know damn well you were supposed to obey me. Even the law of chastity was worded differently, because it was sexual intercourse in the beginning, before that, rather than no sexual relations. So they wanted to include masturbation and other forms that are not sexual intercourse. Even though sexual relations, then it would still mean a relationship in which you're having sexual intercourse, but they don't want to come right out and give you a long list of masturbation techniques. Which is all they have to do. No sexual intercourse or masturbation or any other kind of form, and no sexy thoughts. Turn off your little factories. We've banned Packer's little factory talk. So we're sexually abusing you because we're the great and abominable church. And so, yeah, in the washing, you are washed to become a high priest and a high priestess unto the Most High God, preparatory to your receiving your anointings, your christening. Then you go into the anointing booth to become hereafter kings and queens unto the Most High God, to rule and reign in Zion. Your families are the tribal groups in Zion. You are in charge of your own family in Zion. That is the government. That's what it's all about, that Joseph Smith set it up for. It's a similitude of Zion. Kirtland Temple. That's the endowment. The endowment has nothing to do with the garden story and the creation story, and with Peter with the false prophet, and Lucifer as his bestie. Oh, right. Yeah. I'm dating myself, aren't I? Yep. We all knew Christianity is the great and abominable church, and we're Christian. And so, yeah, the covenant paths, the penalties, the sustaining votes, none of that is Joseph's. It's all Brigham's. Plus the underwear was Brigham's. Yeah. So, yeah, you become a Melchizedek. Melech, king, Zadok, high priest, Melchizedek's. And thus Melchizedekot for women. Because it's not Melchizedekah, even though it could be, depending on which Jewish Nazirite you're referring to. Again, higher learning. And so that's how he's the Christ. Joseph sees this. This is why he's creating the temple. This is 1838, 2 years after the Kirtland Temple. 2 years after he did the similitude of gathering as the man like Moses. This is what Joseph Smith is talking about. The Most High God is the sun god at noonday, that Malachi is. Angel. Messenger. The temple of angels. That's why he calls himself Nephi. The temple of angels. Joseph Smith is predicting the future about the Mormon again. He will be endowed in the temple of angels. So does the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, as the great and abominable church, have a temple of angels? I don't know. Let's check Google. Because it's not like I already gave you the answer. That would be too complicated. That might be looking beyond the mark, Travis. Joseph Smith can't be true. It's just a mantle title. Because that's what it is for the great and abominable church's prophets. Oh my hell. Oh God. And so thus new name Nephi. How did Joseph know? And did Benson? Oh, it was actually Kimball who designated the new names during that time period. How did he know? Did he know? Did he know what he was doing? Yes. There is no specific temple of angels in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Huh. Wow. And so we have newsroom, Angel Moroni lifted to the top of the Fort Collins, Colorado temple. Huh. Witnesses of Christ, huh? Good job, dumbasses. I'm about to expose you. There's no specific temples of angels. Los Angeles. I just want to scream. Who was the one who dedicated it? Let's see. Announcement. Dedication. David O. McKay. 11th through the 14th of March, 1956. O God, our eternal Father, creator of the earth and of the teeming manifestations of life thereon, we, thy children, assembled in dedicatory services in this house, go through the ritual of doing a copy and paste. I think I did this already, because I've been, over the past year, I've been occasionally getting these and making them documents. So yeah, there's a lot of them to catch up on, but I'm pretty sure I got this along with some other major ones from the beginning. And then there was a period of time where I was starting with the A's. I am still recording, right? Yeah. And then there was another time where I was going through the quick ones, which that was a waste of my time. Because alphabetically, certain letters of the alphabet have less than others. Seriously. Ooh. Ooh. Protect it from earthquakes, hurricanes, tempestuous storms, and other devastating holocausts. 1956. Huh. You always get a bombshell with my videos. So the announcement was way back on the 6th of March, 1937. So that was Heber J. Grant. Heber J. Grant announced it. And then David O. McKay finally was the one who dedicated it after World War II. Fascinating. Did they know? Did they know? Did they know? Oh, well, that's not what I wanted. Yeah, I still remember. It's got the older picture. They've remodeled it so that the one room is now multiple rooms. So yeah, we got the picture. So we don't have to go to the church's site per se. Well, this is the Temple Times and such. It's on the Wikipedia page. That's a weird view of it. Ooh, there's the street view. Cool. Because we used to go right across the street to get ice cream. I don't think it exists anymore. And there's the one that they... No sign though. Who were those people again? Let's shame them again. Witnesses of Christ, huh? There is no such temple of angels in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I am making that the thumbnail picture. Oh my God. So, that's what a Christ is. Dumbass Mormons. Dear God. Joseph Smith keeps going. And yep, sure enough, it's a future prediction. But the day had not yet come. The Mormon is not born in Joseph Smith's day. This is the future. And so they, Mormons, who will not hear his voice, should be cut off from among the people. But soon would come. Now, Acts said it was precisely as it stands in the New Testament. And I don't recall seeing cut off. Let me read it again. Maybe I missed it. For Moses truly said unto the fathers, A prophet shall the Lord your God raise up unto you of your brethren like unto me, him shall ye hear in all things whatsoever he shall say unto you. And it shall come to pass that every soul which will not hear that prophet shall be destroyed from among the people. Holocaust. I don't see cut off. I don't know. Well, we've got C for cut off. 3 Nephi 20:23. Let's see what this says. Okay, so Jesus in literal history in the Americas, which is, Benson said, is 3 decades after, which is a pattern of the latter days, and Benson gave that talk in October 2086, so 96, 06, 16. Did he know? "2023, huh? That was the bicentennial year of the second vision." "Behold, I am he of whom Moses spake. I'm here. This is it." Wait, what? The second coming came and went, and it was in the Americas way back when? Bruce R. McConkie says that it's 34 CE. That was the second coming of Jesus. It already happened. Wow. How'd we miss it? So 1,000 years, oh wait, more than 1,000 years have ended. So Lucifer was unleashed and trying to get back his kingdom? That war already happened after the millennium? Events in the year 1034. Second millennium. So, April 11th, Emperor Romanus III, Agrios, is drowned in his bath at the urging of his wife Zoe, who marries her chamberlain and elevates him to the throne of the Byzantine Empire. Yep, there it is, the coup of the government. Lucifer is a woman. She is abroad in the land. They also taught me that in seminary. As an example of what not to do. Wow. So then they have spring, and then March, and May, and King Sancho III of Pamplona, Leon. In the summer, November 25th, Malcolm II. And then Muslims are involved. And then the Francais Comte becomes subject to the Holy Roman Empire. And Africa, and then births and deaths. So really not that much. Not that much happened. Pretty boring. Pretty boring. Pretty boring. So yeah, that woman took over the throne with the murder of the king. Where were we? Behold, I am he of whom Moses spake. Again, this is a vision of a future prophecy. It's the Mormon. Is that too complicated? Vision, prophecy, prediction of the future, vision, not literal history, prediction of the future, calendar date and clock time. A prophet shall the Lord your God raise up unto you of your brethren like unto me. Him shall ye hear in all things whatsoever he shall say unto you. It shall come to pass that every soul who will not hear that prophet shall be cut off from among the people. All the prophets from the name of God and those who follow after As many as have spoken have testified of this Mormon. Wow. Amazing. So let me go back. Oops. So that's why cutoff is here. But would come. Soon would come. 200 years later, I guess. Whatever. 200 years later is some. Soon. I can keep going, because like I just quoted from Book of Mormon, everybody testifies of the Mormon. And you get exclusive additional information from Joseph Smith, even though it's in the scripture, other scriptures of the Bible and others, but, you know, he makes it clearer. He gives him the new name Nephi. Nobody else does. Some other exclusives about moving to the Michigan area of the Great Lakes. The hand of the Lord. How did they know? So, Egyptian gold treasure plates, that's how they knew. So, now that we've got this settled, the Danites, the enemy that created the great and abominable church of Lucifer with the inverted pentagrams. It's pretty obvious. They talk about establishing a militant group of Danites as exhibited on the 4th day of July, 1838. That was when Sidney Rigdon got up and gave his salt sermon. And so then Willard Richards writes, for the 28th day of July, 1838, while in this valley working on the negationism history of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, President Smith and Sidney Rigdon left far west for Adam-on-Thy Man to transact some important business and to settle some Canadian brethren in that place, as they are immigrating numerously to this land from all parts of the country. No. Liar! The Danites knew of the election coming and called the Danites to come and make sure it did not happen. That's why they were provoking the Missourians to cause a war to justify being the destruction company, to cause an extermination of the Missourians. This was their similitude of the latter days. Joseph Smith did his, the enemy did theirs. It's an exact same pattern match with what's going on today. They provoke a fight. And then when the fight breaks out, they then justify extermination. Because that's what Sidney Rigdon said in his salt sermon. People need to leave us alone to practice our religion. We will defend ourselves and exterminate anybody who attacks us. And then Sidney Rigdon, for which the Danites forgot and didn't listen to, said, "We will never be the aggressors." We just live our lives and we expect other people to leave us alone because we're in the United States of America. It's the 4th of July. But if you take words out of context, like the Danites did, they justified being evil. And so Trump. He's been instructed on the ways of the Danites. This is why I told you he failed in 2025. He came out with his inauguration for his second coming. Yeah, remember, Jesus isn't real. Evil people are telling Trump he's King Cyrus of the Jews and Jesus of the Christians. And Trump is that gullible as long as you bribe him. So his inauguration speech, he listed out all of the illegals. From the Nazi Germany identification, inverted triangles, with the inverted swastika. You know them by their inversions. So, Trump is picking fights. He's trying to provoke a response to justify coming in and exterminating everybody. And people don't fall for it. People go through the courts and sue, and Trump loses. People protest rather than riot. People call for other nations to come to their defense, to shame and condemn Trump. Trump is not able to be justified in exterminations. They're not falling for it. Thus, in 2025, he failed. But, despite his failure, he's building things up, putting things in place, just like Nazi Germany. And so, Project 2026 now, from the Council for National Policy, led by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints through the Skousens, Mark Skousen technically now. Naked communist daddy. And so, last year, Gaza got crushed. And so, we couldn't get a Trump resort. No dancing bearded women. So now it's Iran. He did Venezuela. That was too quick and easy. But he had set up for it the whole time. Because ever since his inauguration, he's calling out these countries as being terrorists in American gangs. The Venezuelan gang. That's how he started. He's trying to provoke a fight. And they didn't go for it. And so Cuba. Yep, they're next. And so now China and Putin are meeting with Cuba. They're financing Cuba. They're providing them with energy. They're providing them with drones. Will China or Cuba do it? We have another Bay of Pigs? Or will Trump need to be dealt with for his failures? And then we can blame it on a lone gunman with a rifle that could no way fire that quickly and have magic bullets with laser guided trajectories for heat-seeking signatures. Sure. Nobody believed it back then. Trump now confessed it was the CIA who did it. Released all the documents. The Mormons. Because the Mormons were in the CIA. They were the perfect recruiters. They go out on missions to foreign countries. They learn the languages. Hey, join the CIA. CIA, led by Mormons. Filled up by Mormons. And thus assassinated the president. D. Todd Christofferson was, let's see. Yeah, D. Todd Christofferson was the clerk in the Nixon hearing. There was the Nixon hearings, and then there was, I think it was just the Nixon hearings. So he knows about Deep Throat, which again was a Mormon. Mormons are involved in everything in all this because it's their 200-year-old plot. But did they know? Of course they knew. It was their 200-year-old plot. I'm having trouble, Harold B. Lee, or Hugh B. Brown. Dear God. Anyway. So, yeah, this is why this year is going on the way it is. So again, Iran. And Iran just won't follow through. We crushed them. They talk tough, but they got nothing to show for it. So now Trump is going to Cuba. He's pulling out our troops in the background, not the foreground of the news, background of the news. He's pulling out our troops from Europe. And yesterday we added Canada. The Pentagon is withdrawing from the Canada board, military board thing, or whatever it is. We're pulling our troops from Canada. We're pulling our troops out of Europe. Anybody familiar with what Putin is doing in the background news? No. I've told you. Way back when he first invaded on the infamous day that shall live in infamy, 24th of February 2022. And then said, yeah, this was the backup. After the test run of 2020 and 2021 that failed, and Trump didn't become president, I then had no other choice. If Trump became president, I wouldn't have gone in to Ukraine. Oaks got leaked saying he was in charge of all that. Oaks ordered Putin to invade Ukraine on the 24th of February 2022 because a certain man like Moses, suing in Pharaoh's court, served the great and abominable Church of Jesus Christ on the 24th of February. Did they know? I'm not buying it, UB Brown. Maybe you were left out because you were a sensitive liberal snowflake. I can see that happening. But why did you put him in the apostleship in the first place if you knew he was a sensitive snowflake? So yeah, despite the headline news that Trump is distracting you with, there are things going on in the background leading up to the Holocaust. I didn't know. I knew, but I didn't know. See, this is a seer at work here, guys. Mormons have no clue what that is. They've never had a seer. And so, yes, also making frontline news is the gangs. One of them was led by a Mormon, the Oath Keepers. When Trump takes over for his second coming, he pardons all of the January 6ers. He gave them a pass to say, hey, thank you for what you did on January 6th. You are now being rewarded with a pardon. He wanted them to rise up and do it again, because the gangs were not getting locked up as they should have. Even Cox here in Utah was refusing to lock up the Venezuelan gang out in Harriman and the other gangs that we've got here in Utah. And as a result of Cox's failure to obey the Lord and Master Trump, we had the church shooting by gangs because Cox failed to obey the President of the United States of America. Because Cox is taking orders from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, who have an ulterior motive for Utah. That ulterior motive I exposed yet again yesterday and referred to it, and Joseph Smith makes further commentary on it in 1851, or 1840, 19 July 1840, verse 51 from section 101. And the enemy came by night, broke down the hedge, and the servants of the nobleman arose and were affrighted and fled. Would they know? Because it says, Joseph Smith says they wouldn't know. But yet, Oakes knows and is purposely getting Mormons around the world in the headline news. Exposing Mormons as terrorists, exposing Mormons as criminals, exposing Mormons as Antifa. Trans-Antifa, furry, communist, terrorists, Venezuelan, Cubans, Canadians, Gazans, Iranians. Getting apostates in trouble in the news. Getting Mormons vilified in the news. Escalating things. Like Idaho Chick said, it's kind of strange that women are able to hide their identity in public better now. So people don't recognize Mormons as terrorists when everybody already knows we're terrorists. They're watching the shows on Netflix and Hulu. They're watching it in the news. Mormons involved in everything all around the world. The Church News talked about, or actually it was ABC4, but it should have been, I think it was just ABC4. They're talking about Mormons in the Dominican Republic who were there for 2 years working. Sarah? Is it because missionaries were not allowed there? And now they are, and that's why we have this massive burst of new converts who now all have Ebola virus. But yeah, that's what they're talking about working there. Now they've got Ebola virus. And so yes, just like these viruses and diseases, we had under Biden the milk bird flu. And then with Trump, measles comes out. And then hantavirus. And now Ebola. I'm seeing this. The one gets under control. Then another one comes out. And then that's sort of under control, but then another one comes out. And then another one will come out. And another one will come out. And yet, creeping death in 2020, Oaks confessed to him being in charge of that coming out. And so thus, all of these are Oaks' responsibility. They're the enemy. This is their 200-year-old plot. As much as I'm confused, do they know? Of course they know. Hubie Brown, what the hell? And so these gangs failed to rise up and start attacking people, going after Antifa, going after all the illegals, trying to recruit for ICE, to get people locked up and to shoot them in the face and said, "Bleep you, bleeper," as the Mormon girl drives off to her death. Because you never leave the church. You always have your membership. But that was just horrific. And again, Minnesota, where George Floyd, 2020. Oaks ordered the assassination of a Mormon girl. Oaks ordered the lockup of Tyler Robinson, letting the shooter go free. Oaks ordered Mormons to sentence Corey Richens to life in prison with no parole for adultery, not murder. They couldn't prove murder. And so Oaks stepped in. Adultery. And then those who were educated at BYU in psychology got careers in psychology and are now in prison. Because BYU taught them to be criminals in psychology. From Nazi Germany, brought over by the Mormon CIA agents to Utah to run human experimentations on Utah Mormons, drugging them, producing Big Pharma. And the church invests in both psychology and Big Pharma. They cause everything. We've got the documents, we've got the receipts. The church is the enemy. I'm standing up to them. Why is nobody else standing up to them? They're waiting for a call to action. You already have it. Oh, but the church comes down and uses the government to lock you all up as terrorists? and excommunicate you? Ooh. It's the great and abominable church. Why are you crying? There's no crying in the great and abominable church. So yes, Trump is now failing to get his 10 billion or 10 trillion, whatever number. He backed off because he got a settlement from the IRS for 1 billion or something, 1.8 billion, I think. And it's going towards funding the Oath Keepers and Proud Boys so that they can be rearmed and then do what they were supposed to do last year and didn't. So again, Trump is trying to get people to cause a controversy, cause a fight, so that Trump can then be justified. Trump already pardoned them to let them know, do it, and I will pardon you again. I will keep you out of criminal prosecution. Just do it. And they didn't do it. So, fine, here's some money. Do it. They're not doing it. We don't know yet. Trump hasn't given it to him. He's got to launder money to his offshore bank account over in the Middle East. Then his sons have to be involved in some kind of scam. Trump finally released his Trump phone because it got exposed that they had no intention of releasing a Trump phone. It was just to collect people's money. Oh, yeah. Oh, we promised. Yeah, here's the phone. Oh, that was quick. That didn't take long. And I'm sure if anybody actually went through it, they'd find out that it's the Chinese phone that's being used to spy on people and be a social control operation. But nonetheless, people don't want to pay attention, want to repeat history, don't want to learn from it. So yeah, all these data centers, all of these concentration camps, homeless camps, they're all being built across America in the background now. They tried in the foreground and people protested, so now they're in the background and they're getting done. So even though Florida's concentration camp, Alligator Alcatraz or something like that, is closing down, it's still there as a building. I'm surprised. Maybe he's accomplished his goals and purged Florida of all the illegals. Thanks to him, I was able to identify the church as the major funder of Islamic terrorism from their own website. We'd like to thank the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints for being our biggest funder. They cause everything. So yeah, the CBS is now investigating teen treatment centers across the land, that they're causing harm and not helping, as they lied. Words, people. If it looks like a Nazi and salutes like a Nazi, you're pretty confident in calling them a Nazi. The treatment centers came from World War II Nazi Germany by the Mormons and the CIA. Operation Paperclip brought them to America, and a good chunk of them came to Utah. They got really popular in Utah because the church can control them. They got family services that turned into psychology. So, Any apostate? Yeah, you're mentally retarded. Oh, you got raped? Mentally retarded. Oh, you're a female who has emotions? Mentally retarded. Oh, you're a pregnant woman? Mentally retarded. And so there's a dual thing. You drug the woman who's pregnant and the baby in the womb, so that you can put the baby immediately into psychology when they're born. Pure evil, KUTV2. Here you are investigating Baby My Baby, and you didn't realize that, I think, aren't you the one with the woman who's doing the investigation, or is that KSL? About the nursing home scandal here in Utah? Whichever one of you, do you not know how to expand out? Because if they're doing it for nursing homes, what about the psychological treatment centers where they're getting shut down and the people are going to prison? Just like the nursing homes need to be. You're not seeing a pattern? How young are you? How educated are you? Was it BYU? You can investigate anything as long as it doesn't connect to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, but everything does. Everything does. When the leaders of the church lie, Mormons then end up acting on the lie because of spiritual witness feelings, not running the test and going, wait a minute, this is a bad result. I shouldn't be doing this. But with spiritual witness feelings, yeah, ooh, I murdered my family member. I feel good about it. Ooh, I committed a crime against my neighbor because I feel good about it. That's why people are escalating their crimes. Because the hardcore Mormons that are left, who haven't fled and closed down all the stake centers in this valley, are the ones getting busted. Because they embrace the spiritual witness feelings for truth. And the church is betraying you. They're not coming to your aid. They abandoned you. And if they can't get a Mormon, a true believing Mormon, to get in trouble with the law, then they frame and blame an Antifa Mormon. All done on purpose to provoke Armageddon. But as long as people remain apathetic and just lay down and die, yeah, America will be turned into Nazi Germany. Okay, well, if you're just going to let us roll over you, great. And then Trump will run for a third term. I'll have to turn him into the Bionic Man, like Oaks. He's got a new hip, so he's, going out and living life. Just like all those drug commercials from Big Pharma. Showing a mentally retarded person who's on their drug, living a great, happy life. And then the narrator comes out and says, may cause death, anal bleeding, organ failure. Bloating of the skin, flesh falling off your bones. Then they get sued. They pay the couple $100,000 in damages. That's their multi-billionaires. And they go back to the lab and slap another label on it with a different name and have the same commercials with a different name this time. The enemy came by night, broke down the hedge, and the servants of the nobleman arose and were affrighted and fled. And the enemy destroyed their works and broke down the olive trees. This is the church's provoking to exterminate mankind. The Danites, to justify it. That's it. I'm done. I did notice 3 days of rain, by the way. I know, and pay attention. I paid attention. But I'm also aware that, might as well, the curse of Joseph Smith. When I ran the test after Monson, I noticed the pattern of a month plus or minus from solar and lunar eclipses. And so when I ran the same test with the apostles, no. Not all of them. Select ones, sure. Bruce R. McConkie. As well as Perry Pecker Scott, Hales, Ballard, even Faust, and Holland. Holland? Did he? I have to check on Holland again, but I don't think so. Him was... Well, his replacement was with the moon at Saturn, but I'd have to go back and check on Holland. I guess we can do it since we're doing it. Check. Being left alone for the most part. They already did their damage with the video that didn't have the mouth to audio link. Google. There's a white bar across the top and then a black screen. And so the curse of Joseph Smith has an established pattern. And so Nelson, fell to his death this time, rather than just falling. Which, I called that too. Was fitting the pattern. And so then I notified Oaks, you're next. And December 27th. No, that wasn't. Blowing stardust. That guy was creepy. WWE, the Stardust character, or Gold Dust, or whatever, Dust. That was just creepy. Just creepy. And they're all in the tights. It's creepy. and so I pay attention to this because there's something to it, as Joseph Smith tells us there is in Revelation chapter 12 in the Joseph Smith translation. This is the whole spirit thing, day and hour, calendar dates and clock times. So yes, the curse of Joseph Smith to those who murdered Joseph and took over his church and turned it Christian. The leaders of the church all die within the time frame of the solar eclipses and lunar eclipses. And so, if Oakes were to die, I previously would not have accepted it. If any of the other previous apostle or prophets died out of the range of the eclipses, I'd have to search to try to figure out how it's an anomaly. Was he a liberal? But I ran that test. George Albert Smith, the one who finally got a Bishop Storehouse. He was not Heber J. Grant. And so, yeah, with Oakes, if he were to die, the previous pattern would not fit. But if you've watched my video content when I talk about it, I will inform you about how a month extension because of Passover. But that's only if it happens. That's how I would justify it. The deadline was the end of Passover, right? So I gotta find out when those eclipses occurred. Oh, right, it's on the calendar. Or the Curse of Joseph Smith picture. So it's gonna have to be deleted now because it didn't happen. So yeah, March 3rd. And so because March 3rd is the later, because he didn't die before, March 3rd going ahead 1 month or 30 days, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2. Yeah, the start of Passover. And so I would give an exception if he died during Passover until the 8th of April. He didn't. He fell. Got a bionic hip scheduled. Didn't bother to tell us for a month. And then this time didn't even bother to tell us. He learned from Nelson. See, he knows. Strengthening Church Members Committee are getting information back to him. He knows. Yet. And so technically, I cannot justify the curse of Joseph Smith if he were to die. Now, the scriptures, however, says he's going to get locked up in prison. He's going to be bound to Jesus. And if you're not paying attention to the words coming out of my mouth in these videos, they are criminal and need to be locked up. And government officials are not doing their job. And yet, the church keeps getting worse because nobody's going to dare to molest or make them afraid. And so the next one is, see, it's August 12th, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so it's the 13th of July when the next Curse of Joseph Smith time period comes up. He's got a new hip. He's running around, prancing through the forest, hunting for fish. Yeah. July 13th is now the new date. But there are exceptions. Jewish holy days. And so the first Jewish holy day is right before there's one on the 2nd of July, but I don't think that's, I need to check that. That's Tammuz. 17th of Tammuz. But the 23rd of July, which is before the 24th of July, is 9th Av. The big Jewish date, when both were destroyed. So I'm now paying attention to that. And Oaks knows I am, because of Nelson. Which he is very well aware that I know, and he knows I know he knows. So, Jewish let's see, we did the calendars, religious months, Tammuz. So yeah, Oaks now has got another final destination. He now has taken a picture with his great grandkids. That's why I did that final destination video yesterday, because I know the pattern. Death has a plan of happiness for everyone. Oh, crap. It is needed to be included. Yeah, golden calf offered by the Jewish people. The Korban in Solomon's temple is discontinued because the Greeks took over. Or no, that's Babylonians. Yeah, Babylonians come in 586. They have breached the walls, and so immediately the temple sacrifices cease. And then also the walls of the Roman period Jerusalem are breached by the Roman army. And then 135 CE, the Roman general Apostolimus, whatever, burned the Torah and placed an idol in the second temple. Wasn't it destroyed by then? Because 70 is when it was destroyed. Anyway. And so on. Jesus stops the sun on the 3rd of Tammuz. And then Ezekiel's chariot vision on the 5th of Tammuz. Walls breached by Nebuchadnezzar on the 9th of 586. So yeah, that's coming up on the 17th, which is the 23rd of July, and then 9th Av afterward, the destruction. Okay, so there we have it. Alrighty.